The relationship between Iran and Israel has been marked by animosity, conflict, and occasional cooperation. Over time, the complexities of geopolitics, local disputes, and ideological disagreements have all impacted the nature of their partnership. Relations between Iran and Israel were generally amicable before the Iranian Revolution in 1979. In 1950, Iran became the second Muslim nation to recognize Israel. However, ties between the two nations drastically worsened following the revolution and the creation of the Islamic Republic of Iran. In today's video, we are going to be telling you why Iran attacked Israel. We are also going to give you the implications of this attack and what it means to Iran. Before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel to get the most recent updates on what is happening in Iran and Israel. A new era of anxiety, unpredictability, and confrontation in the Middle East began on Sunday night with the wave of drones and missiles that soared into Israel. Iran conducted the historic attack following an alleged Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, earlier this month. It signaled the start of a new phase in the years-long tension between the two countries that has gotten worse ever since Israel started war on Hamaz in October. The massive aerial attack that took place overnight involved the firing of approximately 300 projectiles against Israel, including over 120 ballistic missiles and about 170 drones. Israel Defense Forces spokesman Daniel Hagari said that some 350 missiles were fired from Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and Hezbollah in Lebanon during the incident. But only a small percentage of the rockets made it to Israeli territory. The Israeli military claims that 99% of them were intercepted by Israel's aerial defense systems and its allies. Note that Tehran's attack targeted the Nevatim air base, alleging that this is where Israel's early April strike on the Iranian consulate was launched from. According to Hagari, Israeli ballistic missiles that made it to the southern airbase of the nation barely damaged its structural integrity. Hagari said the base is still operational and is still being used by jets despite the strike. Reporters were informed on Sunday by a senior U.S. military official that the U.S. believed there was no significant damage within Israel itself. During the operation, U.S. ships in the eastern Mediterranean Sea shot down 4 to 6 Iranian ballistic missiles, while nearby planes shot down around 70 Iranian unmanned aerial vehicles that were flying toward Israel. One ballistic missile was also shot down by a U.S. Army Patriot missile battery in Erbil, Iraq. It is worth noting that these tensions have increased since Israel launched its war against Hamas, following the Palestinian group's October 7 attack on Israel. The leadership of Iran has issued a warning, stating that unless Israel's war in Gaza ends, its allies' attacks in Syria and Iraq will continue targeting U.S. military installations in those nations. However, in early April, Iran's accusations that Israel had bombed its diplomatic facility in Syria caused increased fears of a regional war escalating out of control. According to Iran's foreign ministry at the time, the airstrike damaged the consulate building in the country's capital of Damascus, killing at least 7 people, including senior commander Mohammad Hadi Haji and Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a top commander in the country's elite Revolutionary Guards. Zahedi was the most well-known Iranian target to be slain, following the termination of General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad in 2020 by then U.S. President Donald Trump. Zahedi was the former head of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards Air Force, ground troops, and deputy commander of its operations. Israel will face consequences for the attack, according to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, while President Ebrahim Raisi declared that the attack would not go unanswered. Hezbollah, a violent organization in Lebanon with Iranian support, threatened to retaliate and get retribution for the bombing. Since then, there has been constant tension in the region as the U.S. and Israel have issued warnings of impending Iranian attacks based on intelligence. Israel praised its military's response and responded fiercely to the unprecedented strikes. However, Israel's Western partners advised the nation to try to defuse the situation rather than react in a manner that would lead to all-out conflict. Note that U.S. President Joe Biden spoke by phone with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and made it clear that the U.S. would not participate in any offensive operations against Iran. Biden and his senior advisors are highly concerned an Israeli response to Iran's attack on Israel would lead to a regional war with catastrophic consequences. Biden said in a statement after the call that the U.S. military moved aircraft and ballistic missile defense destroyers to the region over the course of the past week, which helped Israel take down nearly all of the incoming drones and missiles from Iran, Yemen, Syria, and Iraq. Biden advised Netanyahu that he should view Saturday night's events as a win, as they showed Israel's remarkable capacity to defend against and defeat even unprecedented attacks. Following a virtual meeting on Sunday, the G7 leaders also denounced the Iranian attack in a united statement, stating that it risks provoking an uncontrollable regional escalation. The immediate course of events will be determined by the decisions taken by Israel's War Cabinet. In a nearly 3-hour meeting on Monday, the War Council examined military preparations for a possible reaction. The War Cabinet is still committed to responding to Iran's strike, but it's unclear at this time whether a decision has been taken over the nature of that reaction. There is a feeling that Israel needs to move swiftly. Apart from considering a military reaction, the War Cabinet is also considering diplomatic measures to further isolate Iran internationally. Hardliners in the Israeli leadership have demanded drastic measures. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir declared that Israel should go in hard, while Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich called for a response that reverberated throughout the Middle East. Israel has informed the United States that it is not looking for a significant escalation with Iran. Note that in one way or another, Iran's Middle East proxies currently have a big impact on Gaza, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. These proxies, who are grandly referred to by Israel and the US as the Axis of Resistance, have power over an area that stretches 1,500 kilometers from the northern region of Lebanon to the southern Red Sea coast of Yemen. Additionally, the Iranians are now more likely than ever to possess nuclear weapons. The withdrawal of the Trump administration from the Obama administration's nuclear agreement with Iran, which prohibited the Iranians from enriching uranium over about 4%, was their greatest foreign policy error. According to Trump's own intelligence chiefs, Iran was abiding by the provisions of the nuclear agreement prior to his break with the previous administration. The Iranians are thought to be closer than ever to possessing a functional nuclear bomb, with reports indicating that they currently possess enough highly enriched uranium for 3 warheads. The main aim of the missile and drone attacks on Israel on Saturday was to demonstrate to Israel and its neighbors that the Iranian regime is a formidable foe, and that the Israeli attack on its military officers in Damascus would not go unpunished. However, it might not trigger a major war since 99% of the 300 drones and missiles launched by Iran were intercepted. It seems probable that the theocratic government in Iran, which is facing significant domestic unrest and is on the verge of a generational shift, wished to address demands for revenge for the Damascus attack without inciting a major conflict between the two militarily superior forces, those of the US and Israel. While Iran's attacks were underway, the Iranian mission to the UN in New York issued a statement claiming that they had now replied to the strike against their diplomatic premises in Damascus, and that the matter could be deemed concluded. That, of course, doesn't mean that Israel will deem the matter concluded. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is unpopular with the majority of Israelis and hasn't succeeded in his strategic goals in Gaza of militarily overthrowing Hamaz and releasing its approximately 100 hostages. He could certainly gain from a rallying cry in which he presents himself as an aggressive leader during a time of war. Of all, after suffering through a flurry of Iranian missile and drone strikes, the Israeli public might likewise call for measures to reinstate deterrence against Iran. It would therefore be very unusual for Netanyahu to refrain from taking some sort of action against Iran, even though President Joe Biden called Netanyahu on Saturday. Things may become really bad since the Biden administration has been working hard to defuse the growing regional crisis, which is now intensifying. It's also unclear what would set off a major war with Iran and where everyone's red lines are. However, there are some critical takeaways to take from this attack. The facts are ignored by those who argue that Iran was merely attempting to make a symbolic display of might. Iran had the potential to terminate thousands of civilians. If it had, today's world would be considerably different. There would probably be a big regional conflict going on right now that has implications for the entire world. Nonetheless, this presents Israel with yet another chance to mend some of the bonds that were severed during the catastrophic conflict with Hamaz. Iran has demonstrated that Israel has friends throughout the Middle East, including some very significant ones. The Middle East and the world were just reminded by the Islamic Republic that it is capable of shocking everyone by launching a careless and perhaps devastating attack. Israel needs to seize the opportunity to strengthen ties with its Arab neighbors, who hate and mistrust Iran. That would be very helpful in defending the entire region from Iran, as well as paving the stage for future developments that might lead to more stability and perhaps even long-lasting peace by keeping Gaza out of the hands of one of Iran's radical proxies. Do you think Israel will face serious consequences from this attack? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.